let's go ahead and get started.
All
Thank you
right.
again so much for speaking with me today.
Absolutely.
And I just want to learn all about kind of like your training regimen, like what goes into like I guess being a Paralympian specifically.
Right.
Like what does your typical day look like? So you can like start from the morning up until later in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mondays and Fridays, I always wake up at 7, but um Mondays and Fridays I will wake up and then obviously get ready. I will go to the range and I will be there from about 8:30 till about 11:30, 12ish. And then I'll go to lunch and then come back to the gym where I'll be there for about an hour. Um,
Mhm.
and then Tuesdays, Thursdays, I shoot in the afternoon, work out in the morning. I have 10 to 20 minutes of cardio normally. Um,
Gotcha.
and then I'll shoot in the afternoon from 2 to about 4:35 ish.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I I'm still kind of learning about the whole like shooting field. So can you
Right.
explain to us like what type of gun you shoot or
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I guess what is your specialty specifically?
So I shoot R5 SH2, which means I shoot off of a shooting table with a
Okay.
spring stand. And a spring stand is what holds up the front end of the gun because I don't have the arm strength to do that by myself.
Gotcha.
And the position I'm technically shooting in is prone, but I'm sitting with my elbow resting on the table to shoot prone. Um,
Gotcha.
to kind of give you an idea about shooting itself, for my discipline, I'm shooting at a target about the size of a quarter at 10 meters, which is roughly 33 feet. Um,
Okay.
we have zero magnification in our sights, so there's nothing making it look like the target's closer to our eyes than it is. It's all done with the naked eye. And then to shoot a 10.0 to a 10.9, which is where we roughly need to be, it can go to a 0.0 all the way up to a perfect shot being a 10.9.
Okay.
Between that 10.0 and 10.9 range, we're shooting a grouping size about the size of a straw hole opening. So if you look at the
Wow.
hole in a straw, that's about the size of our grouping for 60 shots.
Okay, so you get like if I'm understanding correctly, 60 chances to try to hit the middle of the target.
So kind of. It's a 60 shot
Okay.
match. So they total up
Okay.
the 60 shots. So a perfect score would be a 654 even, right? Um,
Yeah.
no one has done that yet, that I know of at least. Because difference in pellets and difference in everything else, it's just kind of difficult to do that right now. Um, to hit a perfect shot, which is a 10.9, it's the equivalent of hitting a period on a newspaper with a 12-point font.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I just hear you saying you are achieving the impossible.
kind of. um,
Well, at
I've
least
got
for me
pretty good
because I'm wearing
eyesight.
glasses.
I
Okay.
we have plenty of people wearing glasses here. One of the cool things is that we can have a corrective lens attached to the sights. It cannot make your eyesight better than 20/20 vision though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. Alrighty. So that just sounds very difficult to me. So I commend you on being able to do that.
Thank you.
But I guess that's what the Paralympics are all about. It's
Oh
just kind
yeah.
of achieving that impossibility or just pushing you to like the very threshold of your limitations, which
Yeah.
I think is so incredible to me. Um, and it makes me feel like I need to go do some sort of sport out there instead of just like sitting here and eating Chipotle.
If you find something you love, you can do it for a real long time.
I'm sure. So Can you tell me about the story of how you started shooting? From what I do know, there was a Marine in your life, if I'm correct,
That would be
that
correct.
introduced you, or who introduced you to shooting. So tell
Yeah.
me about that.
So in 2014, my dad, who was in the army, moved to Colorado, uh, Colorado Springs, Fort Carson specifically. Um,
Okay.
and well, oh, goodness, it was the first couple of months of us living there. We started volunteering at the Wounded Warrior Games, which is basically a Paralympics for people who served in the military. During that event, I was helping
Okay.
with cleanup, setup, anything we possibly could, really. Really, really good experience. And then during the opening ceremonies, we met a gentleman. His name was Ernesto Aquino, who was on the Marine shooting and swimming team. And he invited me to come watch a couple of his matches. I wasn't able to watch all of them because being a volunteer, we kept pretty busy. But one of his last matches, he ended up winning a gold medal and gave me the medal that he had won. And then a few days later asked me if I wanted to try out shooting. And I was like, sure. I mean, why not, you know? Um,
Yeah.
so I went to the range during one of the junior practices, tried shooting a little bit, shot a lot of shots, got really tired. But at some point during that, I ended up shooting a 10.9 in my very first day of shooting. And that's kind of what sparked my love for shooting all the way back in 2014.
Man. So that's kind of crazy how it just kind of like organically happened of just
Hmm.
you just kind of trying, and you have this like very inherent ability to, excel in it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty amazing to me. Um, so with regard to AMC specifically,
Hmm.
um, how I guess how do you adapt to like shooting a rifle?
Oh man.
What does that look like for, I guess, for someone who has like arthritis? Like, kind of tell us like your technique in that.
Right. So one thing specifically that makes a big difference is, I'm at a shooting table, of course. We've got the adaptability, as I was explaining, that we've got a spring stand. So it's basically the front end of the gun resting on a spring that allows me
Yeah,
to hold up the front end of the gun. And then the grip that I have has been there's been a lot of different variations of it, but it's been 3D printed, it's been carved out of wood, it's been a lot of different things, and I think we've kind of found the best possible shape for my hand within the legal limits, of course.
yeah, gotcha. And when you say legal limits, like what are the guidelines specifically?
So it has to stay within a certain diameter of the middle point of the gun, for instance.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
from the middle point of the gun, it can't go to a certain point left or right outside of that um, point of the gun. Um, and then, of course, it can't go all the way down. That's going to rest on the shooting table or anything like that as well.
understood. Okay, that's cool. Um, so I was wondering like how, I guess, far you can customize your gun. Like, let's say for example, like you can make it like a different color, or just
Oh
kind of
yeah,
that popped in my head.
absolutely.
Are you able to like customize it?
I've
Okay.
I've seen some pretty crazy customized guns. I've seen um, Jenny Thrasher, who is one of the best shooters out there. She has a completely teal gun or blue teal gun.
Okay.
It's a really, really cool color. I've seen some guns customized with a leopard print. I have not customized mine at all, but it's such a pretty gun on its own that I don't feel like I need to very much.
Okay. Cool. I was kind of wondering like how far you can customize it, or like
Yeah,
what you're able to do with it. That's
I
definitely cool.
um,
So
it's just it's a little difficult and sometimes expensive.
No, I'm sure. I'm sure. So actually, I do have a question on that.
Yeah.
Um, how much does like a rifle like cost? Like, do you like buy a couple? Like, what is the preparation to be like a rifle shooter involved?
So to give you an idea, the rifle that I have, I had help buying it with a GoFundMe group that I started a while back.
Mhm.
My rifle that I have right now is an Onshoots 9015, um, and it was about 5,500.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's not including the extra gear that we have to have. So we have to have a shooting vest, to kind of help stay cooler. It gets really hot, because of our shooting jacket, which is made out of leather and canvas.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Wow. I did not even like think about like the other things other than the gun.
Yeah,
So as you
my
can see, I'm still learning about
oh
it.
yeah, no, it's not something that's very well known. The sport of shooting isn't talked about a lot.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is you're the new face of rifle shooters.
I'm I'm trying. I've got a teammate who's very, very well known. Her name is McKenna Gear. And she actually
Yes.
has AMC.
Yes, I actually came across her Instagram account the other day, and she's also pretty amazing.
Yeah.
As far as your team goes, just like how's the dynamic? Do you guys like how you guys known each other like for years now, or what does that look
Um,
like?
I met McKenna during the Warrior Games. And after I started shooting a little bit more is when we kind of
Okay.
got to know each other a little better. The other teammates that I'll be going with, I've not known nearly as long. I've probably known them for 4 or 5 years. Um, and that's just from moving into the Olympic Training Center and shooting as much as I have now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And kind of switching gears to like Tokyo specifically. So can you kind of go like to the start of when you received the news that you were going to like Tokyo and when you were chosen? Like, tell me about that experience of being notified.
Oh man, that's a long story for you. So I had gone to Peru.
Perfect. Yeah.
um, I went to
Okay.
Peru for one of my last chances to earn a spot to go to Tokyo, and I shot really well. I made it all the way to the final. I had to make seventh place to get a spot. Um, and it's a 24 shot final. We do a 5 shot and then another 5 shot. And then it goes to single shot, going to 2 shot increments. And that's when they start eliminating people. After the last 2 shots is when silver and gold is officially determined. But oh man, going back to that is difficult. So I shot the match. I made it to the final. I was shooting really well. My first 4 shots were beautiful shots. I was feeling really good about it. And then when I went to take the fifth shot, the head said stop because I ran out of time for my fifth one in the very first 5 shot series, which means I had pretty much lost 10 plus points. That could have gotten me the quota. Um, that was really difficult for me. I ended up shooting all the way until the first 2 shots, and I got eliminated at in eighth place, and was notified that I will not be receiving a quota from that match. Um,
Gotcha.
and when I got back, I was under the understanding that I was not going to Tokyo, and that now I've got to look forward to Paris. How long ago was it now? When I made the post saying that I will be officially going to Tokyo, that was the day that I found out I was. So same day I posted, I found out that I was going that morning. It was Monday, 1 or 2 weeks ago now. Um,
Yeah.
And it was kind of a long wait because we were told that there's a few bipartites that we were waiting on, and a bipartite is basically an extra quota um, left over, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So there were four of them. Friday came along and we didn't get them. They said, wait, because we might be able to get an extra quota. We're waiting for it for one person. Um, and Monday morning, when I came into the range, I was getting set up, and one of the guys that knew first came in and said he's going right to my coach behind my back while I was getting ready, and I instantly turned and looked at him, and he shook his head, and oh man, was it I'm still I'm still flabbergasted now. Just it was not expected. I wasn't expecting any possible chance of going to Tokyo. So hearing that, I just I lost it.
Wow. I think that's, maybe that's what makes it even better. Just like the unanticipation, or like you
Yeah,
think it might not happen and then it actually happens.
yeah.
Especially for something that you've been like working really hard toward.
Mhm.
Because I know that's not easy. Especially all the specifics that you're telling me that you have to like shoot through like a straw size, like what was it, like a people, or like what specifically?
So a straw-sized hole grouping, which 60 shots, we have to keep a certain size grouping, right? You want to
Gotcha.
have the
Okay.
shots as close together as possible.
Understood. Okay. So thank you for teaching me,
Yeah.
first and foremost. And second of all, like congratulations. I know that that must be exhilarating.
Thank
And as far as like Tokyo goes, do you know how long that you'll be there? Like kind of run me through what kind of goes on over there.
So
And also when you'll be like um shooting specifically, like if you know the days that you'll be
right.
shooting.
I don't know the dates yet. I will be flying out August 22nd, and I'll be there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. We're allowed to get there at least, or at most, 7 days before our match, which means I'll be arriving 2 days before opening ceremonies. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, and then I'll be there for about a week, get acclimated to the weather, the altitude, the temperature, everything, and then I will be able to shoot my match. So around that time.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we'll be cheering you on, and for sure let us know whenever you're like, if you're gonna be like on TV or like however it's broadcasted. We definitely want to tune in.
Should be
Um,
broadcasted on YouTube and Facebook. I'll have to, if I can send you the links and stuff after I find out, um, I will definitely do that.
yes, perfect. You hear that, everyone? We will have the inside scoop. So, kind of like apart from the Paralympics, um, can you tell me a little bit more about like your journey with like AMC specifically? Like what has your like perspective, or like what is your perspective on like disability, and
Yeah.
do you think that the Paralympics have transformed your perspective of disability or arthrogryposis specifically?
Arthrogryposis has definitely given me a new view. So I am a double leg amputee, for those of you who don't know. My legs were amputated when I was 4 years old, and it's kind of difficult because back then I didn't understand as much, and so when kids would tell me I'm weird or I'm different, I didn't understand because I didn't think I was. Um, Growing up, I didn't like my disability as much as I do now. It was a hard thing to accept. It's not something that everyone can get used to quickly. It was just something that I got used to it after a certain point. When I lived in Texas, which we left Texas in 2012, I'm pretty sure. Wait, no, 2010. Yeah. So I was 9 years old when we left Texas, and I was pretty heavily overweight. I was worrying about it even at that young. We moved from Texas to Virginia, and that is when I started getting my prosthetics and physical therapy at the wounded, not the wounded war, the what's it called, Bethesda, Maryland, um, to get my prosthetics and physical therapy and everything. And while I was there, I met a lot of people who were injured in the military and a lot worse off than me, and it kind of was a very humbling thing because I've been an amputee since I was 4 years old, whereas, these guys who are coming in were injured a couple months before I met them, and they were soldiers. They were strong dudes, and they went from that to being disabled. It's a lot easier for me than it is for them because they've got to relearn how to walk.
Mhm.
Whereas I learned how to walk with prosthetics, and that's kind of where everything kind of flipped for me. It was very humbling. It was very trying to think of the right word. It just it made me realize that it's really not as bad as it could be, and that's kind of when I wanted to start doing something more. Um, so I started getting into sports some. I started with soccer a little bit. Um, and then in 2014, when we moved to Colorado, is when I found shooting. But I love my disability. I wouldn't ask for it any other way now. It's just it's a limitation that I want to push past, if that makes sense. I was talking to someone recently, and it was I want to teach people to not let other people set limits on themselves. Um, because when I was born, the doctors told my parents I wouldn't be able to walk, run, throw a ball, feed myself, anything like that. And now I've done all of that. I've done kayaking, snowboarding, and now rifle shooting for about 7 years now.
Wow. I I think one of the most incredible things for like people with disabilities is their capacity to learn and grow so much from such a young age. Um, because I think children with disabilities are are hit with the reality
Yeah.
of a disability, and like kind of trying to understand what disability
Mhm.
is I think one of the hardest things to do. And like even speaking for myself, having AMC, I think that has been one of like the struggles that just were so long lasting. It's just trying to understand like my own circumstances, which I'm sure like everyone goes through,
Yeah.
but especially to have that from like the get-go of being so young and going along that journey is not an easy thing. But I think it also just speaks to the amount of incredible strength that anyone with a disability, or even just like adversity in general,
Mhm.
is how much you inherently have, that sometimes I think we can surprise ourselves in having.
Yeah.
um like, and just hearing your journey of going into the all of these sports, it's like any limitations that someone has of another seems to be more of just um like socially made instead of like what's actually true.
Yeah.
So you just kind of like breaking those barriers is so encouraging. And I do want to like say like it's encouraging to a lot of our even like younger demographic. And you know they're probably wanting to know, can I actually go into sports? Can I, shoot a gun? Because I personally haven't, that's never come to me. It's just like, oh man, can I actually do these things? So
Yeah.
you being an actual tangible example of that and having your experience shared is so eye-opening. And I think these types of discussions help our younger generation to truly realize that I think pushing past our limitations is such a testament to like incredible strength, and also proving to people that we are not our limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And like disability is just like kind of like one aspect of our like multidimensional experience.
Exactly.
And I love how like you're embodying so like past just like the word disability. It's just like disability happens to be a part of your life, but you're a freaking athlete, which is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Of course.
One big thing that I think I've learned from my disability and through sport and everything is I want to be a teacher, because there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that don't know about disability, and the younger generation of people with disabilities are being told all these things that are mental limitations at that point that they can easily break through. um and I really want people to understand that just because someone says you can't do it doesn't mean you shouldn't try, because I was told I wouldn't be able to
Exactly.
feed myself or brush my teeth, and I can do both of those. I live on my own at the Olympic Training Center, and no one does anything for me.
I I commend you on all of that. And like how you're saying it's all like kind of like a mental construct, and people like assuming about like what they hypothetically think about people with disabilities lives.
Yeah.
um, and I mean, I think a part of me kind of like understands why doctors kind of like list these things of like what could possibly happen in someone's like disability experience. But at the same time, um, I think there may need to be like kind of like a reanalysis of, these could potentially be something that could like stop you from doing certain things. But at the same time, it's just like there's so many examples of people with disabilities that have like past a lot of those limitations that the doctors have listed from
Yeah.
like the get-go of being born. So no, I agree with you on that. And when you're mentioning being a teacher, is that like kind of like the I guess career goal that you have like after the
No.
Paralympics, or
So
are you wanted to like
so I want to be a
elaborate?
teacher of disability and stuff like that. Not
Yeah.
specifically career type. If I had to choose
Okay.
a career after shooting, I would really like to be a counselor. But any chance I get, if I see someone staring or pointing, I'm not gonna berate them for it. I want to go up to them and explain to them like, hey, this is what happened to me. This is why I have my disability, and teach them about it. It's not something that, people should glare at the person that's staring at them, because it's just miscommunication, misunderstanding.
I commend you on that. That's a hard thing for a lot of people, like on both sides of
Oh yeah.
of the equation, like people with disabilities and those who are able-bodied. Um, like understanding that communication and understanding like instead of like staring, maybe having a conversation would better the situation or even just make it less awkward. Because I've been in those situations too of just like, do I initiate the conversation or do I wait for them to come to me? It's like,
Yeah.
so I think having the willingness to want to teach on how to like better address those things is so needed.
Mhm.
Um, especially like even me, I wish I had that when I was like younger. It's just like, how do I address those situations? It's like that person's staring at me, but I don't even know how to talk about it, you
Yeah.
know?
And I will say I was very much an introvert when when I was younger, and my disability has brought out a lot of the extrovert in me over time. And it's just, you know, if I see someone staring, I'm gonna go up to them and be like, "Hey, you want to know what happened?" And then
Okay.
every once in a while, I'll play with some people and be like, "Yeah, my legs were eaten by a shark," or "Yeah, I didn't eat my vegetables and they just fell off one day."
Man, but I think it also takes like an underlying strength to have that conversation, because it's not like an easy conversation to have. Or at least I will only speak for myself. It's not an easy conversation to have.
No,
So
I mean, we don't. It's interesting because, you know, it is hard to talk about. It's hard to talk about your quote unquote limitations. One thing that someone once said to me really stuck with me, and it's not really a disability, it's more of a diffability. It's just a different ability that we have.
yeah, I understand. And by the way, we have a special
Hi.
guest. Ani, thank you so much for
Hi, Ani.
joining
Hi, Stetson.
It's good to see you.
I miss you so much.
I miss you too.
So I went and I dug and I did some background investigation so I can crack the party.
us. So
I wanted
Ani
to
has
come
told
on
me
here.
so many great things.
Yes, I wanted to come on here and say on behalf of AMCSI, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Incredible. And as your second, third, fourth mom, I am so stinking proud of you, Stetson. And I can speak for all the moms in our AMC family. They are all so incredibly proud of you as well.
I really appreciate
We are
it.
wishing you the best of luck in Tokyo. Keep us updated. You have our numbers.
Absolutely.
Wait to support you from here in the U.S. But I'm just so in awe of all of you guys. I think is it 12 now we're up to, Brandon, Paralympians going to Tokyo?
I have a running list, but I think it's about 12 with AMC. I have to recount again, but I'll be posting about it soon on social media. So we'll be tuning in.
That's awesome.
Yes, and so if a lot of our parents who are tuning in, or families that are tuning in, Stetson actually is one of our Zoom moderators, and we will resume our full support Zoom meetings for the teens that will be starting next month. Obviously, Cody will run the meetings during the time that Stetson will be in Tokyo, but our full schedule will be back the end of this month, the last weekend of July, and then we'll have our full entire schedule going on in August. I'm really excited. So if you have not, or your team has not met Stetson yet, or Cody, make sure you guys look at our schedule that will be upcoming. I know that a lot of our teens loved these two young gentlemen, and so we're just thankful to have you as part of AMCSI's moderator team as well. So thank you. I'm going to pop on and just say hi real quick, and a huge thank you and a huge I miss you. I think I speak for a lot of our AMCers. They miss you too, Stetson.
I miss everyone so much. After I went to Peru and everything went down, I was so down about everything that I was worried to come on the Zoom calls for a little while. So I'm glad there was a little bit of a break for a little bit there, because I was down.
I think we all were.
But we're back up. And we're cheering for you and for Tokyo.
Yep.
Yes, I'm excited. So, okay, I'll let you get back to talking to Brandon. I just had to pop in there and say hello.
Good to see you.
And all that good stuff. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
Bye, Ani. Thank you for coming up. There goes your surprise. We had a secret word where I would send it to her and like for her to pop on here. The secret word was lumpia, because I'm obsessed with lumpia.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So so overall, what were we talking about? Oh, kind of just like the perception of disability and having those conversations.
Yeah.
Um, like I truly commend you on being able to have those conversations just because that's I think it's a difficult thing for like both young and adults to conceptualize on how to make that a less awkward interaction. So I hope you do like, you know, become like almost like a disability educator or like counselor in the near future. I think that would be really awesome.
Yeah.
I think I had a conversation actually from another interview that we did with Sarah Gaver. She was in the beauty pageant industry and running for Miss Florida. Um, she was talking about how she hopes there will be more like disability awareness classes like in schools and integrated into curriculum, which I thought I think it's so needed. Um, like for me personally, when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school even, there was always this like gray area or like a divide between, you know, special education classes or like whenever those with disabilities would be included or like being inclusive classes. There was just like unspoken um dynamic that was never really like discussed or even like educated about.
Right.
So I really would love to see that like be transformed a bit more in the school curriculum so that we have a more of an inclusive space,
Right.
a more understanding space type of thing. But I think the Paralympics helps also kind of put that on the forefront too, you know, just broadcasting it to the masses so that they, you know, they get a little bit more, I think, have more awareness of just like the different disabilities that exist. But also at the same time, though we look different, we are not so different underneath it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, just to wrap up here, because we're reaching the 45-minute threshold, um, is there like any last thing that you'd like to like let our younger generation know about before you like leave to the Paralympics? Anything that you want to promote, anything like that? Let us know.
Well, I think the biggest message I always want to send to anyone with AMC and any disability, especially younger ones, is like don't limit yourself, because if you limit yourself now, you're going to be stuck doing something you don't love. And like I really took hold of what I wanted to do, and I am now traveling to multiple countries a year and having a lot of fun with it. So don't allow yourself to just give up, because if you give up, it'll never go the way you want it to.
I think that's a message we need to tell ourselves daily. So, and it's definitely encouraging to me because I love traveling. So
Yeah.
I definitely want to do more of that, and hopefully Tokyo one day.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the Paralympics, but you know,
Yeah,
to
I
go
mean, if you
visit.
become a public figure or something, you can absolutely do stuff like that.
There you go. Or maybe if I get a food sponsorship soon,
There
they'll
you go.
sponsor me going all over.
Yeah. Get the Chipotle.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes. Hashtag Chipotle, y'all.
Yeah.
So overall, I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for um, being open about the disability experience and also giving us a little bit of an inside scoop of going to Tokyo.
Yeah.
Like I said, we are supporting you, cheering you on, and we definitely want to watch the broadcast. And once he sends us like any specific dates or anything, I'll be sure to share it here on Facebook, all the social media channels, so we can be there cheering you on. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
And on behalf of AMCSI, we are so excited. And, you know, just going to Tokyo alone is just amazing. So congratulations on all you have achieved, and we can't wait to hear from you soon.
Thank you.
Of course.